welcome to Heartcraftpaper. Today I'm going to show you how to make a Kleenex mini flipbook. First, you're going to need a Kleenex box. So don't discard any of your Kleenex box if you like making flipbooks. This is the perfect cover for your flipbook. So we're going to start off right now by going ahead and taking off the flaps. As you can see, I've already detached them, and basically you're left with an open box. We're going to pull apart at the seam here at the top. You just want to be a little bit careful. Make sure that you just don't tear too much off of the actual box, okay? Next, I'm going to come in and cut here at these seams. So I'll go ahead and kind of fast forward through this, but you can see that I'm just going to cut along through the score lines and being careful that I remove all the tabs nice and evenly. Once we're done cutting, you're going to see that we have the perfect cover and spine. Now it's time to measure this out. The width of the cover is 5 inches, as you can see here. And the spine of the cover is 4 1/8. And this is all in widths. So you want to make sure that you have your cover cut properly. Now I'm just going to measure the height. And the height here is 4 1/4. I just want to make sure I measure across to make sure it's all the same height. Okay, we're now ready to line our cover. Here I have a printout that I had of a wood fence because I like these rustic feel papers. And I'm going to go ahead and utilize that to cover my album. Now, initially I wanted to do it up and down, but I figured it might be better just to turn this on its side and have those running from side to side rather than up and down. It also gives me a little bit more coverage and a little bit more wiggle room to be able to cover my album. And I think this is about right in how I want it to sit. Here I'm just going to go ahead and give this a little trim. I want that white excess just to kind of come off. I'll be utilizing this particular edge as my center. There will be a little bit of an overlap with the other paper. I just want to make sure that this is nice, neat, and clean. I'm going to go ahead and glue this down using Barely Arts glue just because it's my favorite. And you're going to notice that I'm just going to go along this particular spine and down the middle. So I'm utilizing the score line as my barrier. I don't want to go over that. Just add enough glue to make sure that you're able to center that paper on, and then from there we can go ahead and fold over the paper. We want it to be able to move along with our cover. If you add glue at the very beginning and placed it all down before folding, your paper might yank off of the cover. So it's just easier this way. Now time to trim everything up. I'm thought about going maybe about 1/2 inch, but that's going to be a little bit too close. So maybe about 1 inch away from the cover. As you can see, I do not discard my paper because you can go ahead and reutilize some of your paper, and you won't even know that you have something on the back. So here you see I have everything trimmed out, and now I'm just going to go ahead and cut diagonal corners. I'm not cutting exactly at the corner, but I'm going to cut a little bit further away so I have enough space to work with these edges and make these little notches, okay? I want it to kind of overlap a little bit, so just be careful of that. Now I'm just going to come to these edges where it folds over. I'm going to cut on either side of my score or fold line. I want a very tiny, slim little flap. Now it's going to happen on both sides, okay? And the reason for this is so that I'm able to cover the spine at the fold without having any issues. So here you see I have my little flap. I'm just gonna fold that up and over onto my score line. I'm just gonna glue that down and just make sure that it creates a very nice cover, okay? Just make sure you're gentle with it. It is very tiny and very slim. You don't wanna break these off, so just be very careful with that. Once you've got all those glued into place, we're now going to come in with a bone folder. I want to utilize the bone folder to create creases along my paper. This will make it much easier for me to go ahead and fold over because we want to create this nice look and trim the paper as well. Once I've got all the creases down and I've scored everything, my focus is going to be these little corners that I have here. And let me go ahead and kind of score that over again because it wasn't really clear. So now, again, I'm going to focus on these little corners. You can see where the score marks are here. And I'm going to trim on the outside of those score marks. I want to leave a little triangle there. You can make this bigger if you want, if it makes it easier for you. But this is just going to make our corners neat. Once I get this trimmed out, I'm just going to go ahead and glue those little corners on down. So just kind of push them up over the corner. Add a small amount of glue. As you can see, I'm not trying to go too overboard. I don't need that right now. Just a little bit will do. And I'm going to push those right on over to the corner and press down. That will help me get a nice clean look once everything is finished. All right, so I'm going to prepare this edge to fold over. And as you can see, it's a little bit difficult with those corner pieces. So what you're going to do is you're just going to create a slight crease where they kind of overlap there on the edge of the cover. So that will help it bend over nicely and create a nice, neat corner that we have. So I'm going to repeat that process on the other side just to make sure as I go along it's just easier. So let's go ahead, add some glue and get these flaps folded over. You'll notice that as I fold these over, I do burnish them. And depending on the type of glue that you're using, you might want to use a binder clip to give that a little bit of time to dry and continue on with the next side. With this Barely Arts glue, I noticed that I don't have to do quite as much with the binder clips. I just utilize it to hold it down. Burnishing actually presses that right into the paper so it creates a nice bond. And I'm just going to go ahead and crease over right over the score line just to make sure that my paper also folds easily, and then on the spine as well. And now I have covered half of my mini flipbook. So I'm going to go ahead and work the other side in the same fashion, and I will be right back. All right, my cover is now ready to be lined on the inside, and I have a piece of cardstock that I'm scoring here. This is 3.75 by 9.5, and I'm gonna score actually along the lines where they fold. So I have another piece here since I wanted it to be the exact length here, and just kind of overlap those. I didn't have enough paper, so I decided to work it this way. Either way, it's still gonna be hidden, so I'm not too concerned about that because we're gonna have those little sections of flipbook that are gonna help cover that. And as you can see, it's perfectly hidden there along the creases. I just made sure that I kept it hidden. Again, you're gonna add your glue that you have along the inside crease first, and now I'm just going to make sure that this creases nicely, and I'm going to add my glue with the paper somewhat folded but not, or the cover folded. This allows the paper to stretch and move freely with your cover. So that way, once you start moving it, you know it's not going to pull up or pull apart. Now I just want to make sure that I have enough glue, that it's centered properly. So I think that works. It's nice and stretched out, and I know it's not going to fall apart. So I'll repeat the process with the other side. Next, it's time to work the actual mechanism for the flipbook, and that is to add our little pages, and we're going to insert that here. So what I'm going to start with is a 3.75 by 8 piece of craft cardstock. You know, you can make this black if you want, but I wanted it to remain hidden kind of, you know, with the same paper, so I decided just to keep it the same. I'm going to go ahead and score this every half an inch. So I'm going to start half an inch and then just go ahead and continue on scoring all the way across. In order to form the spine, we have all of our scores at half an inch. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create peaks and valleys. So I'm going to fold towards me and then away and kind of create a little pinch. Okay, there is your first section, and that's going to create your first flip. And you are going to move into the next tab. You're going to fold towards you and then create a pinch. This will create sections, as you can see, and those are going to create our spine. We'll go ahead and get going on this, just kind of moving forward to make sure we have enough time allotted. And you can see where it is starting to form its a little spine, and I like kind of working them to make sure that they stay uniform. And that there fits perfectly right into our spine. Now I'm going to go ahead and glue those little pinch section that created the little hill. I'm going to glue those together. So I'm literally going to pinch them together and hold them down. This will now create that little flap that I'm going to utilize. Go ahead and repeat this process for all the other sections, making sure that you get enough glue all the way up to the edge. And if you have any excess glue, go ahead and clean that off. So you'll see I'll have a pinch, a space, a pinch, a space. And those spaces also allow for, if you would like to have a little bit of a 3D look to your little flip book, it does give you quite a bit of space. And there you go. We're now finished. I'm going to go ahead and set this down right into my little flip book. And first, before I do that, I just want to try and make sure that it fits perfectly in here. And there you go. I think that now we are ready to go ahead and move on. Now we just want to make sure we glue this down securely. And you'll see that I use a zigzag motion to get glue all the way to the edges as much as I can. I'm going to do the same thing with all the edges up and down, just making sure I get enough glue. You don't want the mechanism to lift off of your cover. So make sure you press in between each of those little flaps to make sure that you get a good adherence. So here you can see just how well this is already turning out. The cover is spectacular. It offers quite a lot of space. You can see that your work, if you do have a 3D item, then it won't get damaged. You have plenty of space with these little divots in between. There's enough space that none of your items or your ephemera will get smashed. Now I'm going to work these back and forth to make sure that the mechanism kind of flips easily without creating too much tension. So let's go ahead and make sure that that paper is tray fit. All we have left now to do are add our pages and decorate them. Here I have a 3.75 by 4 piece of paper, actually 2. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna place one on each side of that little tab, and that will create our page and will allow us to kind of flip the pages, hence the flip book. Now I'm gonna add some glue onto the tab, and I'm going to adhere the first page or the first sheet and then the second right on to the back of that. I decided on making them just regular pages. If you would like, you can go ahead and leave this section open and make a little pocket. So we'll go ahead and repeat this process for all the other sections. So as a part of today's project, ManuDesignStudio has provided us with several images for the Crafters Castle Challenge, and my theme was merry and bright. This particular design is very rustic, which is why I'm utilizing all this craft cardstock. Here I have this beautiful filigree that I'm utilizing to cover up that seam that I had left. And as you can see, it's a beautiful little cover up. And you don't always have to make everything so perfect. There's ways of fixing things. Now I'm going to go ahead and utilize this crinkle binding in order to create my closure. I cut this out to allow for about 4 inches once I've already gone ahead and glued it down. And as you can see, I'm not pulling it straight. I'm leaving it crinkled as well on both sides. If you like the images that you see in today's project, I'll go ahead and post that down below so you can find that at the ManuDesignStudio shop. Here is one of the digital papers that you will find that is included in this kit. I went ahead and distressed that, tore that up and distressed it a little bit. I did add vintage photo to make it a little bit darker along that white edging, not, from the tearing. And I decided that it needed some embellishments. So I went ahead and added this star that I had cut out of ivory paper. And I also utilized some of the images that are coming with the pack. Look at how pretty this little tree is, and it's got, a little pine cone. So I'm gonna go ahead and give that a 3D feel. I'm gonna use some foam tape in order to make that kind of pop up off of my cover, just because I wanted to give it a different feel. I don't like always having things just being flat. With my cover decorated, I'm going to go ahead and start decorating the inside. There are several beautiful pattern papers in this digital set that I decided to utilize. I created little pockets that you can, put little items in. I also use some 3D items so that way you can see just how perfectly well with this particular style of flip book, utilizing a Kleenex box, you get quite a bit of distance between each page so your items will not go flat. And here's another sheet that you can see. It's absolutely beautiful. It's kind of like a rustic feel to it. It's little stars and snow kind of falling with some pine cones up at the top. And I'm utilizing this little reindeer. It's going to create a little bit of a pocket there, so I can just kind of stick something there behind. As you can see, I created a little bunch of roses. Again, this is more of a rustic feel. I'll go ahead and link down those little itty bitty rosebuds for you down in the link below as well. And I'm just going to go ahead and distress this little item here. As you can see, I just cut it and then ran over it with the scissors, used some of the vintage photo and made a distressed look. And now I have this little peekaboo effect of the craft paper right behind it. So there's several things that you can actually do with a flip book, and it depends on your theme and what you're going for. You can add bows, you can add different things, and making little pockets, adding quotes. It really is up to you and what you feel or what your mood is and what you want to put into it. So take advantage of the space be creative. Try and get yourself into a place where you feel that I can add these beautiful pictures, I can make little pockets, and now I can put, let's say, a tag, and on that tag I can put a sentiment, or on that tag I can add another picture, putting multiple tags in there. It really is up to you. So here I have the finished product, and you can see just how beautiful this is. Let's go ahead and open this up. You have the front that's got these beautiful embellishments. Of course, these are all from the ManuDesignStudios. I decided on a couple of pages that I added some of the images and papers from the ManuDesign, added my own embellishments. You can see here that there are several little items. I created a little envelope with a handwritten note. So there is so much that you can do, and especially with this cute little guy that I made here, a little pocket out of those ornaments. And I mean, just make it whatever you feel you would like to see. I hope you enjoyed this video. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button, and don't forget to hit the little bell for notifications of future videos coming. Don't forget to enter the Crafter's Castle Challenge for your chance to win one of these designs from ManuDesignStudios. Thanks for watching Heartcraftpaper. For more videos and tutorials like these, don't forget to subscribe. Visit the website at www.heartcraftpaper.com.